Hello, my lovelies. This is Tanya. Gonna try and get back into doing these Facebook Lives again here. I know I kind of fell off the wagon there over Christmas and into the new year. And on that note, Happy New Year, everyone. But I'm gonna try and get into a routine. I'm gonna see how Fridays work. Aim at that for a bit, and we'll see how she goes. And I'm gonna try and also cover off some different topics, probably mostly related to marketing from that side of things. You know, I had put out a call out last year there as to what kind of topics to cover. And I know there were some suggestions on, you know, actual writing tips and whatnot. I don't know. You know, honestly, most of us are writing, and if we have a question specific, sorry, you probably didn't notice that, but my phone just froze up with an alarm that went off. Yeah, so I don't know. I just don't really feel that necessarily writing tips specifically is something that I necessarily want to dive too deep in. But at the same time, you know what? If you guys have questions and you want me to dive into something, let me know. I'm pretty flexible. You know that. All right, so what I actually want to chat about today specifically is prompted because of an article that I read that prompted me to write a follow-up article regarding your online presence and building that platform. The article that I read was it was by a lady named Erica. I apologize, I can't even remember her name. Her website, I've got it linked in the article on the Bookshop Bistro blog, so you can check that out. But it was, her website is publishedtodeath.blogspot.ca. And she wrote an article about The Martian, the book The Martian by Andy Weir. And, you know, her headline was, "How did a self-published novel become a top-grossing movie?" Right? Question of the hour for all of us, right? Or question of the year. It's definitely something that we all are interested in knowing. What are those secret recipes? And, you know, we've had a lot of conversations in the group surrounding that. But back, it was actually about a year and a half ago when I first reached out to Andy. And I had a number of conversations with him, just, you know, through Facebook Messenger there. Really nice guy, really open to talking to people. But I found it kind of interesting because at the end of the day, he had no clue why his book did so well, why he got a movie deal. You know, I tried asking the usual questions, you know, what did you do? And, you know, did you have any up your sleeve marketing tricks and, you know, this kind of stuff. And no, he's like, I didn't do anything. You know, he really didn't. You know, and that's pretty common, more common than we might want to admit to. But I started digging a little deeper and I started asking different questions, and that's what my article really talks about if you haven't had a chance to read it there. But at the end of the day, Andy did actually follow a process and a system. He just didn't realize that he was doing it, and it's because it was just a natural thing for him, in that he was just doing what he was doing. He loved what he was doing, and it had the results, you know. So what was that? Well, he was posting stuff on his website. Now, this is going back, keep in mind as well, to before social media. Okay, so Andy used to do comic strips, and he used to write some short stories and things like that. But he's got a degree in computer sciences. He's a computer programmer. Mostly he was in the gaming industry, and then he moved into mobile apps and that sort of stuff. So obviously very techie kind of guy. So he's one of those guys that had a website, you know, before most of us even knew what a website was. So yeah, so he had a website, and he was posting his comic strips on there and his short stories. And, you know, he had gotten a little bit of traction with his comic strips, and he started building a following. So people liked what he was doing, and, you know, they were really interested in following him and seeing what else he was going to create and put out there. So fast forward, I think it was roughly around a decade, maybe a bit more, and, you know, he finishes off The Martian. Now, it's a book that was in progress for, I think it was about 7 years that he was working on that book. And he started, like, he spent some time, he took some time off work, and he did actually go through the process of trying to query agents and break into the market traditionally. I had no luck with it, gave it his best shot. I think he told me it was about 3 years that he actually gave that a run. And it just didn't pan out for him. So he said, yeah, I got to go back to my day job. I got bills to pay. And that's what he did. So then he started publishing his book, chapter by chapter, the serial posts on his website, which we've all heard. There's lots of people out there that have tried that tactic. The interesting thing, though, is that it's not actually that particular tactic that was the, special thing for him. It's not about posting your books chapter by chapter on the website for everybody to read for free. That's a whole other conversation. We've had many on those, and we're not getting into that right now. But the point was that he had already started building a following. So he had about 3,000 people on an email subscription list for his comic books, comic strips. And as he started producing, more short stories and putting stuff out there, that following just kind of stuck with him. Well, one day he was asked by a random reader if they could get his book on their Kindle, because it was really kind of a pain in the butt to read it on a website. And he's like, yeah, sure, all right, I can do that. So he created a digital file of it, like an EPUB of it, and put it on his website as a free download. He was just writing this book for his own pleasure, and for the few people that wanted to read it. He kind of decided that fame and fortune wasn't in his horizon, kind of thing. So fair enough. So he did. He put it up there, and then that same reader comes back to him and says, yeah, that's awesome. Really appreciate it. But here's the thing. I am not techie, and I don't know how to get it from your website specifically to my Kindle. And for those of you who use a Kindle and that, yeah, it's a bit of a process. I think it's easier now than it was back when, they first started with them, but nonetheless, it's still a process. And he's like, okay. The guy's like, well, can you just put it into Amazon? And I know how to do it there. So he said, sure, yeah, fine, whatever. So he did. He uploaded it into Amazon. And I don't know if it was a thing at the time or if he just didn't know, but he felt he had no way of making it free. And again, I'm not as up on things back then as to what Amazon's process were, but nonetheless, he couldn't get it on there for free for whatever reason. So he put it up at 99 cents, lowest price he could. So then he puts out to all of his audience and followers and says, hey, you can read it for free on my website. You can download it for free on my website. Or, you know what, it's on Amazon. You can go grab it for $1 if that's what you want to do, if that's easier for you. And he pretty much left it at that. He didn't make any efforts. He didn't do any marketing. He didn't, push it out there in any way. But he already had a relationship with this following. These are people that have been following him for years. So comments and different emails that go back and forth and stuff like that, it happens, right? You give something enough time and a relationship is going to build. And that's what happened to him. So like I said, he had about 3,000 people on an email list that had been accumulated over years. And through his website, he knew that he was roughly getting, it was somewhere around 30,000 unique IP pings on that website. So, he didn't really know where they were coming from or who they were, but he knew that he had people following him. And that's about all the information he could give me on that side of it. Well, once he put it on Amazon, these people that know him, they wanted to support him. He even had people asking him if they could donate money to him before he had put it on Amazon because they enjoyed his work so much, like the stories he was writing and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm a computer programmer. I don't need donations, right? Great place to be, wonderful, but kind of funny. So yeah, so he puts it on Amazon, and all of these people who have been following him, who wanted to support him because they had built a relationship with him, all flocked to Amazon and bought the book. Well, with Amazon algorithms, and regardless of the changes that they keep throwing out there, the end result is still the same, that they're looking for track record of sales. And Amazon work in a few different ways on that, in that they're looking at your daily sales, alarm again. um, sorry, they're looking at your daily sales, your weekly sales, and your monthly sales. And they look at that historical as well in terms of determining your ranking. I'm not an expert on Amazon's algorithms, okay? I don't know that anybody really is. There's lots of speculation out there, but they change it so much, it's hard to keep up with. But a little bit of testing here and there has made it pretty clear that these things make a difference. It's why I've tried to do some of the things that we've been doing with the Bookshop Bistro group and the spotlights that we were doing and that sort of stuff. Because as indie authors, the one thing that we don't have is a decent sized audience to draw on. You know, a book gets put out there traditionally by HarperCollins or Simon & Schuster or whoever, and they're putting it out to their entire audience. You know, they've got multiple authors who all have multiple readers, and when they release a new book, they let all those people know about it. So right off the bat, they've got a built-in following that they can release to. So this is why you see me put a lot of stuff up there that really talks about building our following, you know, and honestly, it's all I'm focusing on right now. You know, you guys may have noticed that I really don't talk about my book a heck of a lot. I've got Instagram going now, and I've fine-tuned the type of stuff that I'm feeding through to those. It's not, you know, going off the charts, I know that, but I'll tell you, every day I'm getting new followers on each of the different platforms. And that's what it's about, and it's going to take time. Yes, there's things you can do to fast track it, but at the end of the day, it takes time to build relationships. So it's not just about the numbers. An email list of 3,000 people that Andy had, honestly, that's not massive. Like, it's big for most of us. I know mine's not that big. But in the big scheme of things, 3,000 people on an email list, you know, and you get, what, 10 to 20% open rate if you're lucky? So it's not necessarily that we have to find these massively huge audiences. The trick is we've got to figure out how to nurture the audiences, grow them, and build relationships with them. And so that to me is a really, really huge component in all of the efforts that we're making. Anything else that we do to market our books. So if we're going to do the BookBub, BookSends, right? The email blast type things that we pay for. Nothing wrong with those. They're a good way to reach a large audience as well. But they're supplemental, right? You do a BookBub email blast and you get one day. You know, one day it's hitting however many you've paid to hit, and then it's done. So you might get 2 or 3 days of residual, you know, a little bit of a wave to ride on that, but it doesn't last. And you can't do a BookBub email blast like once a week even. You know, you're lucky if you can do them a couple times a year. So you need to understand that that sort of stuff is supplemental. It's not going to be the, you know, the catalyst that just makes a big difference. It's all the different moving pieces working together that will make the big difference. And people probably want to argue with me. Bring it on. I'm all for it. But I got to say, I'm like really, really serious about how important building our following is and making it a quality following. You know, that's what we really need to focus on. It's not just about boosting those numbers up, and you certainly don't want to buy like Twitter followers or anything like that. That's not going to get you there. It's being engaged and interacting and developing those relationships, and that's going to carry things a lot farther. I'm sorry, it's kind of bad news because no, it's not going to happen overnight. You know, this isn't a quick fix by any means, but I think there is a lot more power behind it than many of us really give credit for. So, all right, I'm going to get off my soapbox now because that's my little rant on what we need to do to sell our books. But you know what? Actually, I'm going to sidetrack one little step on this because in this group for Bookshop Bistro, I know we've also got a number of readers, not just authors. So I hope the readers will take time to, you know, watch this video and listen to what's being said here as well, because, you know, if you love an author, you know, if you're an avid reader and you want to support and see more books come and that sort of stuff, there's a lot that you can do. You know, your engagement as a reader is gold. It's what everybody needs. So, absolutely, like I really encourage you to reach out, talk to the authors and engage with them and get to know them and talk to your friends about the books that you've read and all that sort of stuff. And I know a lot of you do that sort of stuff anyways. You'll refer, I read this, you should check it out and whatnot. I had a friend do that just the other day, actually. Deirdre, I don't know if she will see this or not, but there we go. Shout out for Deirdre. So yeah, I know we do that sort of stuff already, but I don't know how many readers necessarily fully understand just how important it really is. Indie publishing is becoming a bigger and bigger component of the book publishing industry. And it's really hard. It's a hard industry for them. And yeah, I'm sure you've seen the posts of, that authors shouldn't be giving away their books for free, and, oh, yeah, I totally lost it. There was another one. Oh, the reviews, doing reviews for books and that sort of stuff. Absolutely, this stuff is important. And I know some of the information that gets put out there can have a little bit of a bitter edge to it. But you know what? I urge you to sort of cut a little slack for the authors on that one, because it can become a pretty frustrating environment out there when you're trying to get your stuff out there, and it's not even about making the money. Like, for most writers out there, they're not focused on the paycheck at the end of it all. They're focused on the time and effort and passion that goes into creating these books, and they want to share them. They're, maybe they're just an entertainment piece that's going to give you a nice escape from life. Maybe they carry some deeper message. Like, there's all kinds of different books out there, and every author has really good intention behind it and why they want to get it into your hands as a reader. So, cut them a little slack when you see a little bit of edginess come out if they're starting to feel a little frustrated. But I definitely encourage you to engage with them, and ask meaningful questions, right? Like, get them talking about their book. What interests you as a reader? We as authors want to know what interests you as a reader. We want to share information that you want to read outside of our books as well. So talk to us, let us know. And I think you'll be surprised at how many will step up to the plate and try and deliver on that for you. Okay, there we go. Now I'm really going to get off the soapbox. I don't even know how long this has been. I don't have a timer on here. So there we have it, my lovelies. Have a lovely weekend. It's bitterly cold here for me in my Alberta, Canada area. And honestly, I'm looking out the window and it looks like it's snowing again. Like, really? I'm ready for spring. More than ready. All right, so have an awesome weekend, and please leave some comments. Get some debates going. Disagree with me, agree with me. I don't mind. Let's just chat it up. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.